All right, we are back live on the Andre Duke Show with Carter Smith. Oh, yeah. If you can do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate Dave's here already getting the chat rolling. But yeah, we are back. We are one day closer to college football. I apologize about yesterday. Had to move some things around, had some things to do. But with that being said, hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this show. We are on the road to 500. We are going to be streaming the Farmageddon and UNLV and Idaho State. We're going to have games that we're going to be streaming all day, so that is something to look forward to. Appreciate everybody out there that's tuned in, and if you're watching on Twitter or X, come on over to YouTube and get the chat, get in the chat and get active. But just a lot of notes, a lot of things that have been going on. Michigan lands a 5-star running back today. Just going on what the ESPN.com has on the headlines that I find interesting. DJ Lagway of Florida takes the final reps of fall camp. Ohio State names Julian Sayin the quarterback. And then Arch Manning comes out and says his future is unclear. I know that's going to dominate the headlines, and a lot of people are going to be talking about Arch, but like, is it really? I mean, I get it if he comes out and plays one game or 1 year and then goes to the league, but I doubt it. I don't think he'll do that, but that's just me. That's just kind of some of the feelings that I have on it. I don't think he'll leave. I think he'll come back and start again at the University of Texas unless something goes horribly wrong. But that's that. But that's just some of the big headlines, and then the also they got the 50 years of the Indiana Bison and the history behind that on ESPN.com if you're interested in reading that. I think the guy's name was Aiden Pearson, huh? I thought it was Savion Huntler or something like that was his name, but Michigan lands him. But we'll get into some topics right away. Found this graphic. Since 1980, Notre Dame is 0-6 on the road at Miami. I find that interesting. I guess we'll see. I don't know what the home atmosphere, the home crowd is going to be like down there at Hard Rock Stadium. As I've, seen in the past, it's kind of they got a lot of fans dressed as empty seats for the most part down there at Hard Rock Stadium, but it's going to be, I think, a tough road for both teams, because with it being actual week one, a standalone Sunday night game, I think that those are never easy because all of America's eyes are on you, especially holiday weekend. I mean, it's a big pressure cooker. If I could speak, pressure cooker matchup is something to be said there. But Notre Dame hasn't won at, I guess, the record versus Miami on the road since 1980's 0-6. So we'll see if Marcus Freeman can do another first in the program's history. That's just something to be said there, and we'll see. But that's just something that Notre Dame's got to overcome. And then Alabama running back Jam Miller suffers a upper body injury. How long is he going to be out? I'm going to go with 6 to 8 weeks. It could be 4 to 6, but 6 to 8 is probably more likely. I think that they had. I want to say that there was. Kalen DeBoer made some comments about it. I think it's a collarbone. I'm not 100% sure, but I definitely think it's a collarbone injury. So he's going to be out. I would say minimum 4 weeks, but 6 to 8. If he's got a broken bone somewhere, I would say it's 6 to 8 weeks. But that's just kind of where that's at. There's some. Yeah, that you hate to see that for the kid to get hurt in fall camp, not even in a game or anything like that. That's kind of tough, but I also do have some stuff of note. Joey Aguilar has been named the starter at Tennessee. I don't know how many people are shocked by that, but Joey Aguilar named the starter at Tennessee. I think one of the reasons why I think Tennessee is going to be an interesting watch this year is because I want to see how the fans react to the blaming of Josh Heupel over the Nico stuff. I think that that's going to be very telling. I think that we'll see the loyalty and how much they're in on Heupel, because literally Nico tried to hold them hostage and try to hold their feet to the fire for more money, and Tennessee told him to kick rocks, and which I don't blame them on that. I don't blame Tennessee telling him to kick rocks. I think that that's something that's kind of smart on their part. They're not letting one guy be bigger than the power T per se. So that's that. We'll go now to, but yeah, I just feel like the that's very interesting, and I guess we'll get it somewhat out of the system. Today's a good day to remember that the NCAA vacated 2 years of wins because a random student tuner gave 5 football players help on an essay. Yeah, that's very interesting. So well, I don't know. Carter's more the guy to ask. He's got more of the insight into the Notre Dame stuff, but he's out right now. I don't know if I'm concerned that Kenny Minchey pushed this late to win the starting job, but also I think a week before the season starts, Marcus Freeman announces it. But I also feel like Minchey's going to play some. I just feel like he's going to play. If he pushed that much to be the starter for Notre Dame, I feel like he's going to play, because I don't think he would play I don't think they would play him if he pushed that hard to be the starter. He's just not going to sit on the bench, because if you're Minchey, you can go anywhere in the country. If you got into Notre Dame with flying colors, you can go anywhere in the country. Also the Clemson basketball player turned football player, Ian, I did not write his last name down, but Ian got arrested on suspicion of DUI. That is not a good way to start your football career off, I would say. I'm sure Dabo is going to be doing some of that other stuff, probably some extra workouts, some extra things. So I would say that'll get taken care of internally. Just not a good not a good thing to do right before the season starts. Um, you know, everybody kind of knows that I think the penalties for some of that stuff's gonna get more exuberant as time goes on. I think the operating while intoxicated, he's suspected of it, under suspicion of it. So um, there's that. Also, another starter named Steve Angeli named the starter at Syracuse. I don't know if anybody's a shock there, but so it's going to be Steve Angeli coming to town with Syracuse, coming back to Notre Dame Stadium to take on CJ Carr and Marcus Freeman, but you got Fran Brown and Steve Angeli. We'll have to see how that turns out. Also, Julian Sayin, say the least. I feel like that there's been more issues off the field for Ohio State than there has been on the field, and I don't even mean with the team. I mean with the beat. You have the Berm, Austin Ward stuff. You had the Kirk Barton Buckeye Scoop angle of things. So it's been a very eventful offseason for the Ohio State media, I would say. So that's just kind of where I'm at. Michigan's big time 5-star tackle had an apparent knee injury. Andrew Baba Lala, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not good with those names, but that's kind of what it is as far as injury wise and stuff like that. Quentin Joyner, Texas Tech running back, also suffered a knee injury. Don't know the severity of it. Baba, gotcha, Dave. So, but yeah, so he's out. Quentin Joyner, Texas Tech, is out. So that's typically what happens. That's why the whole doing the spring predictions and trying to get all that stuff hammered out just typically doesn't work. That's just what it is. But I guess we can turn the sights to some other things going on in college football. Hold on, I am currently working on getting that pulled up. Let's go here. The winningest teams in FBS since 2000, and I totally forgot to edit this picture. But Georgia 61-7, Ohio State 54-9, Alabama 58-10, Michigan 50-12. Notre Dame tied for fourth. But I was shocked to see BYU, Clemson, Ole Miss up there. So that is and Liberty, but most of that Liberty was Hugh Freeze and Jamie Chadwell. So that is the 2000s winningest teams. Then we have the 2010s, and it's pretty much the same team, except you have Boise State in there, you have LSU in there, Wisconsin. Georgia's at the end of it because Kirby didn't get hired until the end of. I think Kirby got hired in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. But Alabama, Ugh, excuse me. Alabama, by far and away, with the most wins. Ohio State second. Clemson. Um, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 SEC teams out of the top 10. Harbaugh effect at Stanford, yeah. And then you have 2 ACC schools, and then 1, 2, 3 Big Ten schools and a G5. So that's pretty much what that is. That is the rounding out the decade there. I can't believe that Oklahoma's in there, but I guess with Bob Stoops won typically 10 and 11 games every year. What? He only ended up with, I think, 1 national championship. Josh Heupel was his quarterback for that one. I think the following year is when Mike Leach left Oklahoma and took the Texas Tech job. So they kind of broke the band up there. There is that, but we can go to some other stuff. I can't wait until we can actually see games and talk about games. That'll be fun. All right, these are the teams that got rated the best since 2000. 2019 LSU is third. 05 Texas. 08 Florida. 2020 Alabama. 2022 Georgia. 2009 Alabama. 2018 Clemson. I think the best team on this list is probably 01 Miami. And just for the simple fact of the guys that were on their bench were outstanding. 08 Florida was insane. 2024 Ohio State, I don't know where I mean, defensively that team was elite. So I think I would say that they're rated pretty right in the middle. They're not overrated. I think a 15-0 Michigan should be on that list, but it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, Dave. I totally hear you on that. That is something that's a point of contention. I still think 01 Miami, 04 USC, and 2019 LSU are probably top 3. But also another team that brings me to this point is not just because I'm wearing an Auburn hat today, but I would argue 2010 all 22 players from that team are in the NFL. That's a good point. I would also put 2010 Auburn on that list, and here's why: because Cam Newton was the only NFL player on that team. I think Texas team should be higher. You think 05 Texas was that good? I think they were really good on offense, and I think Vince Young had an outstanding year. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy, I do believe. Who won it? No, Vince Young didn't win the Heisman in 05. Reggie Bush won it. Oh, you think that the 05 Texas is better than 2019 LSU? That's an interesting angle, but we'll get into some of that after this word. If you're watching out there on X, or if this is the first time you're finding the program, hit that like and subscribe button. We're trying to get this episode up to 25 likes. We're trying to break the record and break the algorithm. If you could do that and help us grow this channel, Carter and Richie we'll be back shortly, probably next week at some point. But also, if you want to check something out live for us, we are going to be live streaming Saturday, Farmageddon. We'll probably put the stream up at about 11:55 ish, maybe a little late, but if not, we'll be there, and then we'll be back at 4 to stream UNLV Idaho State, and then we will do a little simulcast action. I'll probably try to have both games on. That'll be on at let me get the times. The times pulled up here. But we'll probably have Kansas, Fresno State, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, and then CBS has Stanford, Hawaii. So that's pretty much where we'll be at. And then we'll have the normal show on. And that is that's probably all day Saturdays we're going to be live streaming. But if you can do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button and help us grow this thing. But back to it. Vince Young, Cam Newton, and then Joe Burrow. Yet Jaden Thomas might have. Oh yeah, I hear you on that, Joe. I just think that if you look at the talent around Cam Newton, it was very interesting. And then I'll get these Auburn notes out. And I didn't even plan for all this Auburn news to break today. I already had I got the Auburn Under Armour baseball jersey on as well. But I didn't really plan on all this controversy news breaking today around the Auburn program. Like some people said at the beginning of the week, they are retiring Cam Newton's jersey. I think it's well overdue. He won the Heisman Trophy, won the national championship. He pretty much won every major award, I believe, that you could win as a quarterback and not have. Undeniably, I think he'll probably be a college football Hall of Famer too. As going down as having one of the greatest seasons in college football. So there's that. And then Auburn adds 4 national championships that they claim in 1910, 1914, 1958, and 2004. The only one I remember was in 2004 when they didn't get a play for it back in the old system. That was the Jason Campbell, Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams team that was unbelievable. Auburn did not get a play for the national championship that year. I believe in 04, it was USC that got a play for the Natty. So that's just kind of where it's at, I guess, if they're going to claim it, because I believe it got vacated from USC, but who knows with the way college football is rolling around right now. It's a very interesting endeavor, I would say. So there is that. Also, Ed Orgeron has made some comments in the media that's came out that Coach O, is looking to get back into coaching. I think that's interesting. I don't know if he'll land a head job. I think he said he didn't mind if he was an assistant. So I mean, somebody could be out there adding Ed Orgeron to their coaching staff. I think that would be fascinating. If they did the any given Saturday and they followed Eddie O around, that would kind of be comedic gold, to be honest with you. But I think Coach O, a lot of folks, I don't think a lot of people doubted him, but they want to give Joe Brady a lot of the credit for the national championship, and maybe Joe Brady deserves more credit, and it wasn't Orgeron, but regardless, it is what it is, and he was the head coach at LSU when they won a national championship, so you can't really change that. So there's that. Toledo, University of Toledo, is giving Brian Blair a 3-year extension, so Toledo must be ecstatic. South Central Louisiana State University's next head coach. I figured it was the Mud Dogs. Maybe he can coach the Mud Dogs from the Water Boy. That's something to look at. But so we'll see. There are a couple of topics that I'm going to have some bigger expansion on whenever we get to them. Old Miss's scrimmage ends up online. I seen a lot of people chattering about that the other day. I pretty sure that Lane Kiffin is not real happy about that. It was all over Twitter. I was seeing people share it, and then I had to do something, and then I came back. Excuse me. No, sorry. BK was after Jaden Daniels, not Thomas. Right. Or after Joe Burrow. Yeah. But we can get into the LSU thing right now. But yeah, Ole Miss is, yeah, I hear you on that, Joe. I'll make this short and sweet. There's 3 people that have a lot. There's 3 universities at a crossroads right now. It's Auburn, it's LSU, and I want to say it's kind of Arkansas. But I think Sam Pittman's liked at Arkansas. Although I think the beat is more fan crazy than the actual fans, just based upon that stupid question that Sam Pittman got asked when they're like, well, year 6 under you isn't as exciting as year 2 under, I can't remember who they named off, but the thing of it is that in Sam Pittman's contract, if he wins 7 games, he gets another year. So I would say that judging by the way it's going, if Sam Pittman can somehow pull off 7 wins, that is a huge win for him. 1, and 2, he gets another year extension. I don't think the beat will be excited in Arkansas, but that's what the contract is. And Arkansas is going to honor his contract, and I would say it's just gonna be a tough one. Joe's here, not Joe's here, but Joe Long comes in with, but I think Nuss is going to make them a hard team to beat after Clemson beats them. Well, here's the deal: going on the road to Clemson at night, that is probably gonna be equally one of LSU's toughest road games, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. I think when LSU shows up at Vaught Hemingway, they could have 2 losses, because I think Florida will get them too. If Florida goes into LSU and wins, and LSU, we'll do the win, loss, and toss, because I took LSU this year under 8.5 wins. I know some people say that's nuts, but I took them under 8.5 wins because there's nothing that convinces me from last year that says that they are that they were really bad on defense last year, and I get it, all the Brian Kelly stuff, but they were not very good on defense last year. So that's just what it is. I mean, their defense cost them more than anything, but we'll do the win-loss toss with LSU. I don't mind doing it. I just want to see where you think I'm wrong at. Okay, LSU opens up at Clemson. I would say, and BK called Clemson home of Death Valley Jr. Yeah, I know. BK will get more self-absorbing hits to himself. But LSU's first 5 games are all night games. So we'll do this together. So Clemson we'll go the W and the L column. So Clemson, I'm going to count that as a loss. Could it be a coin flip? Yeah, but I think if on the road is tough, they will beat Louisiana Tech, presumably. Florida comes to town. I think Florida gets them at home. And then they play Southeast Louisiana. So they're 2-2. There's another good LSU coach that had a national championship and got fired after 2-2. So they got to go on the road to Ole Miss. If Austin Simmons is as good as what they think he is, that's an L. So Brian Kelly would be sitting at 2-3 in week 5. I'm just spitballing here. Then you got to go, and then South Carolina comes to town. Do they beat South Carolina in Lenore Sellers? Because South Carolina had them on the ropes last year. I think South Carolina got better than LSU. I mean, LSU brought in a bunch of hired guns out of the portal on defense, but I'm going to roll with Beamer and company. So that leaves LSU at 2-4. I would say that they will beat Vanderbilt. Texas A&M comes to town. I'm going to go out on a limb. In Florida without Lagway still wins. I think Lagway will play in that game. That game is September 13th. So I think they beat Vandy. I think they lose to Texas A&M, and I think they lose to Alabama. I think that they can beat Arkansas. They'll beat Western Kentucky, and they'll lose to Oklahoma. That makes them 5-7, and Brian Kelly is out the door. And the A&M game might be a coin flip, but they got to go to Tuscaloosa, and Jalen Milroe and co whooped that ass last year, and I mean big time. So LSU's schedule is not easy. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, Florida this, Florida that. Well, Florida beat them at home last year, and then next week Florida turns around and beats Ole Miss. So essentially they took 2 teams out of the playoffs. Essentially Florida did. So that is something to be said there. It's very interesting. That is my thoughts on LSU. I think LSU, if all those teams improved and LSU kind of stayed the same, I think they have serious questions on the offensive line, losing 2 guys, especially losing Will Campbell. No, I think Nussmeier will be good, but I have zero confidence in Kelly to do the right thing. That's where I'm at. I will put that on wax and rubber stamp it, because at the end of the day, being an LSU person, I think that they I mean, looking at that schedule, I don't think there's any of the wins that you would say that are up in the air are slam dunks. Is Ole Miss going to be a slam dunk on the road? Is South Carolina a slam dunk? Maybe, but I would say that's a coin flip. Ole Miss is a coin flip. Alabama's or not Alabama. Texas A&M's a coin flip. So if three of those two out of the three of those games go the other way, or if they all three go bad, it's in Oklahoma at the end of the year. I mean, Oklahoma could end up being world beaters and being ranked really high. So you could have a ranked Oklahoma. You would play Arkansas. So LSU could end up. I think the ceiling's 8 wins. Just based off of that, I think the ceiling is 8 wins. I don't see it any higher or any lower. I mean, they could beat Florida, but what would really set the tone off is if they could go out on the road and beat Clemson, knock Clemson off right away. Do I think they could do it? Oh yeah, Garrett Nussmeier's completely capable of doing it. But the problem is that can LSU stop them, and do they have the offensive line to keep? I think it's Pete or the Woods kid and the rest of the dominant defensive line out of the backfield, because I think LSU is going to struggle running the football, and then they're just going to pin their ears and try to tee off on Nussmeier, which it's not fair to him. So we'll see. But if LSU comes out and runs it for 150 yards, and hey, I was wrong, and then Clemson's defensive line isn't as good as what it's been billed as, then. Joe Long here. However, BK can win in the regular season, but games that really matter, I don't want him. I think Clemson. I think depending on how they play at Clemson, if they get absolutely boat raced at Clemson, it's not good. Not a good spot. Now, if they come out and they play Clemson, lose by a field goal, LSU's got some fight. But I just really, to their SEC schedule is kind of rough, because in a 3-week period, you're going to play Florida at home, then you play Southeast Louisiana. You got to go on the road to Ole Miss, then you have a bye week. You have South Carolina coming to town, and then you go to Vandy. A&M comes to you, and then you have an open week. In your open week, you got to go to Alabama, and then Arkansas comes to town, Western, and then you got to go on the road at the end of the year to Norman, which it'll probably be a little chilly up there in Norman, Oklahoma. So, but I'm not going to say that their schedule's unfair, but it's not the easiest. I mean, it's not Florida's schedule, but that's just kind of where that is at. We'll see as far as, but I just think that is not a fun stretch between October 8th and September 27th, because that's Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, A&M, Alabama, all in a short period of time there. That's just kind of where I'm at on it. I don't think that's a good time. I mean, some people will probably want to disagree and say LSU's winning 9-10 games. I'm like, okay, well, they've got to win all the coin flip games then. I mean, they snuck out of South Carolina with one last year. Can they have the same fate and do it again? I don't know. But I would assume Texas A&M is going to be better. I would assume Alabama is going to be better. South Carolina is going to be better. A lot of people are not down on Ole Miss. They keep on saying Ole Miss is disrespected. Well, I could get why the Ole Miss fan would think they're disrespected because nobody's talking about them. So we'll see where it completely bottoms out. But if you look at last year's schedule, last year they lose on the road at the neutral site game to USC. They beat South Carolina by a field goal. They beat Ole Miss in overtime. They beat Arkansas pretty good. They lose to A&M. They lose to Alabama, lose to Florida, beat Vandy by a touchdown, and they beat Oklahoma by 20. So, and then they beat Baylor in the bowl game. So, but LSU lost 3 games right in a row from late October to early November. And they ended up 8-4. I don't know. I might be the only person that thinks that 8-4 is that's their zenith. Because if they don't get lucky and beat Ole Miss, so they're 7-5. But I get it. The transitive property doesn't work because Oklahoma blew Alabama out, and it's just. But also, I know Lane Kiffin. I'm surprised Lane Kiffin hasn't commented on this yet. Is that LSU has their first 4 games? The TV times have been announced, and they're all night games. Ugh. Every single one of them's night games. They have 2 on ABC, 1 on SEC, and the other 2 are on SEC Network / ESPN Plus. I would say Ole Miss will be a night game. South Carolina, I would say all their home games will probably be night games. Except maybe Western Kentucky and Arkansas is what I'm going to go out on a limb for. But yeah, that's pretty much of all the side notes that I've had. That's happened over the last 2 days. But as we head into the final segment here tonight, if you want to take the time and hit that like and subscribe button, help us grow this channel. Appreciate everybody being out there, hanging out with us tonight. We'll be live streaming Saturday. It's going to be a Farmageddon. It's going to be a good old time. So we'll have to see how this is going to go. But here is the preseason poll according to the FPI by ESPN. I was really shocked to see Clemson that far down. But, I mean, that's just the FPI. I'm not shocked that Texas is 1. So we'll have to see where this pans out. But I just thought that was a interesting graphic to throw up here. That is that. And then here are the most bet on teams to win the national championship. No ACC team in there. Ohio State was 17% of the tickets. Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan. There are some people really banking on State Penn to try to win the Natty. I'm not shocked that Ohio State has the most tickets bet on them, just for the simple fact of they have one of the bigger fan bases out there. So that would totally make sense. Same thing with Michigan and Penn State and Notre Dame. Those are all 5 massive fan bases. So I think that at a certain degree, if not Clemson, but if Michigan can really get through the couple of games that Sharon Moore is suspended, I think that we could yeah, but I think if they can get through Sharon Moore being suspended, I think that Michigan can put a decent run at it. I think they got just as good a chance as anybody to win it. So I know some people aren't going to like that, but they do because they have a very favorable schedule, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. I know some folks dislike that. But anyway, I had somebody at my door, so just checking on that. But yeah, I think Michigan has a very favorable schedule. Some people are not gonna like it, like I've pointed out, but we'll just stroll down Michigan's schedule before we get to the last topic of the evening. I think that that's interesting to say the least. Oh, there it is. What's it looking like for the Wolverines? So they start off on Peacock, New Mexico State, I would say, or New Mexico. I would say that's a win. Oklahoma, it just is going to depend on what Oklahoma is. I think that'll be an interesting showdown in Norman. Just for the simple fact of night game. That's just one of those deals. So there is that. Norman's a coin flip. Then they got Central, should win that. Nebraska, there's a lot of people hyping up the Corn this year, but it's they got to go on the road to Nebraska at 3:30 kick. CBS pick that one, right. Wisconsin, I think that's a tough matchup for Luke Fickell and the Badgers. USC, we seen that last year in the Big House. And then they got Jed Fish in Washington, a little payback game. It wasn't as fun for Sharon Moore and the folks out there on the side of the out there on the ocean. And then Michigan State, which I think the Michigan State game, especially this year, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a dead rivalry." Well, Michigan State took them to the brink last year, so I think Michigan only beat them by a field goal, and so you got Sparty, Purdue, Purdue and Barry Odom. I don't know what they are going to be. I just from some grumblings I heard they're it's rough over there at West Lafayette because anybody that could play left, and I don't know. In the transfer portal era, when you fire the coach and half the team leaves and you got to try to get a whole bunch of guys that you half-ass know to get in there and play, I just look at that, and in my opinion, this year should not even count towards Odom's win-loss record. Northwestern, Maryland, at Maryland. I'll be interested to see if Loxley's the coach at Maryland. I know a lot of people will be upset with that, and then they have the Ohio State, Michigan, the game to cap it off. But as far as their conference opponents, The conference opponents, you got to go. Going to Maryland, I think, is a tough trip because I've seen where teams struggle out there. And if Loxley is looking to put a stain on something, but I mean, even at 10-2, because do they beat Ohio State this year? I think that's a roll of the dice, to be honest. So I'm calling that game a coin flip. I know some people will disagree, but I'm calling the Ohio State-Michigan game a coin flip because I don't know, Michigan's beat them 4 years in a row. If it goes to 5, gonna get interesting down there in Columbus. I know a lot of folks ain't gonna like that I said that, but it's what it is. So this is one of the last things I wanted to bring up on the show. The Big Ten is on a speed run trying to ruin its legacy in the last few years, trying to cancel all of college football in 2020, handling of the Michigan scandal, asking for automatic playoff bids and handouts, and now the idea of floating the idea of a 2028 team or a 2018 playoff. Yeah, Tony Petitti is not making very many friends by trying to advocate for automatic bids, and I just look at the whole thing in totality and think, why are you asking for automatic bids? If you're the SEC and you're the other 3 conferences, why would you ask for that? Because if they had the automatic bids in the Big Ten, I'm just not going for it because we've been down this road. Because it's not even, let's just say you go to 2021. Your 4 playoff teams from 2021 would have been Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, but that was the good year with Mel Tucker, and Iowa. Those would have been your playoff teams from the Big Ten. And Iowa that year in 2021, their best win was against Penn State, which wouldn't have been a playoff team. And then they go to the Big Ten championship, and they get beat 42-3. But Tony Petitti thinks that they should be in the playoff. That's what I'm talking about on why they don't need automatic bids. Because if you go down the 2021 Iowa schedule, they beat Indiana 34-6, but that's after Penix and everybody left. Beat Iowa State by 10, and they were ranked number 9. Beat Kent State, beat Colorado State, beat Maryland, beat Penn State, lose 24-7 to Purdue, and lose 27-7 to Wisconsin. They beat Northwestern by 5. Beat Minnesota by 5. Illinois by 10. And Nebraska by a touchdown, and then get absolutely crushed by Michigan. But you want to put that in the playoffs. Okay. Then we can look at a similar team in the SEC really quick while I got the time here. That I just look at it and I think, why would we do that? Why do we do that or want to do that? So 2021. So the 4 teams out of the playoff in 21 out of the SEC would have been Georgia, which was number 1 and won the Natty that year. Alabama, and then Ole Miss. And the year that Mark Stoops won 10 games. So we'll go to Kentucky, would have been their equal opponent, would have been an equal school. Who did Kentucky beat in 2021? So the Cats lost to Georgia, Mississippi State, and Tennessee would have been their losses. They beat everybody else. And then, shockingly enough, they beat Iowa in a bowl game by a field goal. So, a little revisionist history there. But that's pretty much where I stand on it. I think they should just put the best, instead of going to 24, go to 16. Put the best 16 teams in. I know they have to put something as far as conference games. They got to make the conference championships matter. That's what they have to do, is they have to make the conference championships matter. And I get it. So that's just a couple of the notes where we're at on that. I will be rolling Steel City out in the morning, in case any of you NFL football fans want to check that out. But yeah, pretty much that is about where we're at on the show, the LSU tangent, and that's about it. If they go 5-7, I'm not going to be shocked. If they go 6-6, I'm not going to be shocked. That's just, some people vehemently disagree, and I understand that. When it comes to LSU, a lot of times people want to see what they want to see, and it's a global economy when it comes to that. I mean, I could be completely wrong, and they could go 12-0 and win the national championship, 16-0 for all intents and purposes. Do they have the talent, and are they capable of doing that? Yes. My biggest thing is I don't trust Brian Kelly. Period. That's what it comes down to. That's just some of the things that are going into it. And then also, Hugh Freeze comes out and says that all three quarterbacks are possibly going to play at Baylor. I don't know what he was doing. Whenever he said there's going to be a different play caller for every down, I look at that and think, Hugh, come on, man. You are opening yourself up to a ton of criticism, and I'm not going to call Hugh sensitive, but I think that he is. I'm not going to go all AJ McCarron and say he's trying to cover his ass, but I think that he is feeling pressure. If he gets that Womack kid to commit and gets things going on the recruiting front, I think some of the pressure will be off. But the whole golf stuff, but I mean, it was during a dead period, so I don't know. But I think he's got to win 8-9 games this year and push for the playoffs, and hopefully there's a couple of bad calls that the fans will be like, we're getting screwed. So I think that's something to look at, to say the least. But I think it's playoffs or bust for him. I think him, Brian Kelly, and Brett Venables are all on the hot seat per se. I think that those jobs could be open. They couldn't be, but we'll see what happens with RevShare. But that's just kind of where we're at. But anyway, if you are watching this for the first time, hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. Joe, Dave, appreciate you guys. Carter and Richie will be back next week when we actually have football, hopefully. And then we'll keep this thing moving and a grooving, and live stream Saturday, first one of the college football season. So we'll see where that's at. But hit that like and subscribe if you like this content, and we will catch everybody tomorrow night and tomorrow morning. Good night, everybody.